So yeah, so happy Thursday night, everybody. So tonight we are doing element 12, and we got another small crew here this evening, but we're going to give a lot of value tonight. Great value exchange for those that are here. And we're even going to put some great stuff in the recording because I want some folks to see some resources, and I'll do that toward the end of this. But optimizing your success and reaching a healthy weight. So, so this program is way more than just doing the 5 and 1. And those of you who are in the life book, you're working through these 4 components, utilizing your coach. You've got your community of support with this group right here, for example, even Optimal Awakenings. But all these things synergistically working together are going to be the catalyst to get you to your healthy weight. And then what we got to do is you've got to help you reach your success to go further. What do you want beyond the healthy weight? For many of us, it's just, I want to get to my goal weight, but I don't want to gain it back. And so that's what we're going to start diving in and peeling back sort of the onion on this evening. And so anyway, let's dive right in with mindset, skill set, and action. Of course, this is on page 228, and it says in element 12, we will learn why timing is so important in terms of waiting before adding key habits of optimal health. Clarify some important guidelines, action steps to be described, why the system works the way it does. And then, of course, the action is going to be start using a checklist for success. And some people really hate checklists. We're going to dive into that really more in element 13 for sure. But when you first start something new and you're in unfamiliar territory, it's a really good idea to start just checking off, even if it's getting a yellow pad out every day and writing down what you're eating and what time you're eating, how much water you're drinking, and so forth. It's a good idea to do that. And so just get started with that. But Allie, I'll let you take it away. And it's not a very long element, but we'll kind of bounce back and forth. And I got a couple things I want to share when we wrap up.
It's so cool that you mentioned the checklist, because I've actually been talking about having a checklist with a lot of people who we kind of, went a little sideways this summer, and they're like, what can I do? What's the best thing for me? Because I don't know if you've ever had a week where you felt like, yeah, I've been doing my journey, and you get to the end of the week and the scale hasn't moved at all, and you think, I don't understand what's going on. But if your coach walks back with you through your week, you might go, oh, that's right, on Wednesday I got totally sidetracked doing yard work, and I missed a fueling, and I missed another one on Friday because, we left to go to this picnic, and I just was thinking, oh, the next thing I'll eat will be my lean and green at the picnic, but it wasn't served till way later, and I missed a fueling, so then you start looking back and you're like, well, that's why they didn't happen, because I missed some fuelings. But having those checklists, that's part of that first month of success, that we're going through week by week by week in our little optimal guide, that's what's Optavia guide with the little spiral bound edge at the beginning of your journey. Tracking that is so great. But I've told my oldie goldies who got to their goal weight, did really great all winter, got to summer, they've put back on a few, and they're not feeling their best. That's really the big thing, is you immediately feel the difference when you're not being a grazer, when you're not fueling your body steady throughout the day with healthy things, when you're going too long without eating, when you're not getting good sleep at night, when you're not getting all your water in. I said, if you want to track it, but you aren't wanting, just do it as simple or as complicated as you want to do. I've told a few clients, I said, write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on a piece of paper, or put it in your phone. And every time you have a fueling, put a check mark next to that. Like if you're setting your alarms, go in and put a check mark next to those. And you get to the end of the day, you see all 6 things are checked. You're going to know, okay, I got all 6 of my feelings in, if that's what they're struggling with, right? Another one might be water, tracking their water, make a little, you could get a line sheet of paper and draw 64 or 82 circles. And then during the day, every single time, you get an ounce of water and you color it in, or you could do every 8 ounces, right? All the way through, and you just color that sheet. And at the end of the day, you can see what you did. I love my Fitness Pal, the app, and I'll tell you why. I'm not promoting anything in particular, but I love if you start using that now to track things when you get to your goal weight, but you're still contending for your health. And that's kind of what this chapter is about. Getting to your optimal weight and then beyond. MyFitnessPal will carry you through to all those other things. Like now, Kenny and I, we reach an optimal weight, but now we want to start fine tuning it. Y'all, I have sat at this weight that I wanted to get to for almost 5 years now. And I'm like, wow, okay, Allison, you really need to do something with that. Like, it's been great that you made it to that goal, and it's been great that you've stayed there. But now what else can you do to, take your fitness and move it forwards, take your wellness and move it forwards? So that's why I'm tracking things this month. I'm tracking some new things. Before we started the recording, we were talking about that. But that's something too that you can talk to your coach about. But Kenny's right. I went off too long, but tracking is really, really, really great. So on page 231, they talk about no fruit or extra carbohydrates during phase 1. A lot of people are very turned off by this or don't understand it. Fruit or extra carbohydrates, the reason we're not doing that is we want to encourage, the way our program works on the nutritional side is we want to encourage the metabolism to get energy for our day from pulling it from our stored fats. Fruits have wonderful sugars in them, and they're great for you when you are in optimization, when you've gotten to your goal, but they give too much energy per serving. So your metabolism will go, oh, I'm just going to get the energy for Allison for the next couple of hours from the sugar here, rather than pulling it from the stored fat. So we set that off to the side. The extra carbohydrates, same thing. The metabolism will want to pull energy from those rather than wanting to pull it from your stored fats. So that's why we put those off to the side, and we let the fuelings do their job and give our body incredible nutrient support that encourages the metabolism to then get energy from the stored fats. So, Dr. A is not saying that other carbohydrates or fruits are bad. He's just saying in order to optimize weight loss, the way we're doing it with the metabolism, those things discourage the metabolism from pulling from the stored fats. And that switch can get flipped so easily, as Kenny has talked about before, his story about the grapes. This guy didn't lose any weight one week. He just stayed the same. And Kenny's like, what was up? And he was eating 3 grapes while he was, from his kids' lunch every day while he was preparing their lunches. And over the week, 3 grapes doesn't seem like very much, but when you have 3 grapes every day all week long, that adds up. And those little extra bit of sugars cut off the metabolism from pulling from the stored fats, and it had it grabbing it from the sugar from the grapes. So you can see this explained a little bit further when we look at these really cool diagrams on page 232 and 233. So he's showing what we want. You increase the carbohydrate level above a certain threshold, it'll stimulate insulin secretion and shut down the fat burning machinery. So that's the other thing this program does. It was actually originally designed for diabetics because it takes our insulin and it keeps it nice and steady throughout the day. If you've ever been on a road trip and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I'm going to eat a donut or drink a Coke, and you go into the convenience store and you do that, you'll have like boom energy. And then, a little bit later, you're crashing again. That's the insulin spiking and dropping and spiking and dropping. And a big carbohydrate or sugar load will do that to you. So the way that these fuelings work, without us even having to think about it, because the dietitians and nutritionists designed it for us so that we are freed up to not have to worry about how any of that works for the weight loss phase. It keeps our insulin levels stable. We don't go over the daily recommended allowance of sugar. Our fuelings do have pure cane sugar in them. They don't have artificial sweeteners, but they are in there in a way that it doesn't even affect diabetics. It's actually really good for them. So because it keeps that insulin level stable. Now, when we are in a disease state, when we eat something with extra sugar, you'll see that the fuel from the food comes in and your insulin spikes and your metabolism is triggered to stored fat because it's getting too much. It's getting more than it needs, right? So when it gets more than it needs, it goes, oh, well, we'll just tuck this away over here. How many of us are tired of getting stuff tucked away and want to get it burned off? That's me. I don't want that stuff being, I'm like, please do not store anything else. We are good. We are full. The storage unit is full. Do not put anything else in there. So that's why even when we get to our goal weight, your coach will work with you and you will work with yourself actually, but you'll have questions. In this life book, we are going to learn what it looks like moving forward to eat in a way and feed ourselves in a way that we continue to keep that insulin stable and nice, and we don't spike and drop, There are going to be things we do not bring back into our life, but you know what? Honestly, you really probably wouldn't like it if you tried anyway. It doesn't taste good anymore. Your body will immediately respond by you not feeling well. So it's a beautiful gift that just kind of happens accidentally, but we want to build the awareness of how we feel now while we're keeping all those things in check, because whenever we make a kind of a sidestep, you will feel a difference when you do that. And that's really good to just build that awareness, because moving forwards, your brain's going to go, oh yeah, that's right, we don't want to do that, because that makes us feel crummy. And we love how we feel right now. Looking on page 233, just again, once you've reached your healthy weight and we've eliminated the excess unhealthy fat, because the metabolism has been burning it off, we'll bring fruit back in, and you'll fill a fourth of your plate with it at every healthy meal you have. You'll use our color coded system, which you guys are already using that now for your lean and your greens, to make sure that your green zone is good and your insulin levels are kept low. I don't know that he means you eat fruit at every meal, but he just means it's something that you can incorporate back into your diet. And, I don't know about you guys, but in the summertime, I tend to enjoy fruit more than in the wintertime. So, really it's almost kind of a seasonal thing. Let's look really quickly on page 234. And Kenny, did you want to throw anything in there before I turn to the next page? Okay, so on page 234, again, oh, look at this. This is some things that can kind of build awareness about additional sugar. So tonight we fixed meatloaf for dinner, and I happened to see this, and I was reminded of this today. Somebody posted a graphic of 3 tablespoons of ketchup and a donut, a glazed donut. 3 tablespoons of ketchup have as much sugar as a glazed donut. And, I'll have people go, well, Allison, I don't really eat sweets. Sugar's not a problem for me. But I'm seeing them, they putting ketchup on all kinds of stuff, and ketchup is just sugar. So, here we are. This is kind of fun to explore. Where are some things that could be bringing additional sugar into our diet? And this is it's all awareness building, isn't it? So things like your, mouthwash, the creamers and sweeteners or vitamins or supplements that you take in the morning when you have your coffee, or, like I used to eat a bunch of gummy vitamins, and those bad boys add up. That's like eating gummy bears every single morning. And that's great, but it's not great for, it's not great for 5-in-1. Daily meals, your condiments and your drinks, Kenny, I think Kenny, a few weeks ago, we were talking about orange juice. And you think, oh, it's orange juice. Everybody's like, oh, drink your orange juice. That's so good for you. But Lordy help, that's a lot of sugar in that orange juice. And we don't think about that. We think, oh, no, it's good. It's vitamin C. It's good. But drinking our fruit in the form of fruit drinks is really not the way to do it. It would be better to just eat the fruit itself when you get to the point where you're bringing fruit back into your life, because they just have so much. They're too sugary and too nutrient dense. Gums, candies, and breath mints. Yeah, gum. You got to watch your gum. And the other thing about gum too is a lot of the gums that have the artificial sweeteners, those actually are sweeter than sugar, and they trigger a craving for sweets. So you got to be careful with that. And even things like breath mints, and then in the evenings, what you're choosing to snack on. I will say that my children are getting ready to go back to college, and that's going to be great, because in the evenings they like to snack on popcorn and crackers, and then sitting there like, oh my God, okay. And so my husband went and bought bell peppers and celery sticks for me, so I can have those, and they're crunchy and they're wonderful and they're cold, and you don't really want to eat a ton of bell pepper or celery sticks, but it satisfies that urge and that desire, and it's a healthy way to do that. So eliminating the hidden or not so hidden sources of carbohydrates can be the difference between success and failure. So, it's interesting. Kenny will talk to some of his people, and they really will be doing an amazing job with their 5-in-1, right? There was times when I thought I was doing an amazing job with my 5-in-1, but I was having too much gum, and the gum was throwing me off. I was like, why am I losing half a pound? Like, I have totally changed the way I eat. I'm not putting anything bad in there. And we figured out it was the stupid gum. So I quit chewing that gum. No or reduced exercise during the first 3 weeks of phase 1. That also really gets people jazzed up sometimes. Kenny, did you want to speak about that a little bit, about the whole exercise thing?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who come to us who, and I was one of them. I was working out at the gym 10 hours a week prior to starting program at 280 pounds. And I'm like, whoa, what's the deal here? Why am I not losing any weight? But what happens is, and Dr. Ray talks about it in here, your body gets into this state where it's kind of on autopilot. And I'm trying to think of the word he uses for it, and I can't find it. Daggone it. But anyway, it's in here on page 237, compensations. So our body goes into this compensation mode where you can work out and do all the right things in the gym. But here again, if you're not aware mentally of what you're consuming daily and keep that caloric restriction in check, your brain's going to go to work to find ways to overeat. And whether it's extra calories through ketchup, just like we talked about, or even having a couple extra pieces of gum, your body's going to go to work to find these extra things. And you're more likely to give yourself permission to have the extra things because I'm working out. And it can't be that way. So we encourage folks for the first 3 weeks to get themselves into that fat burning state. If you're working out, and if you're watching this recording, if you're working out prior to starting 5 and 1, let's just say you go spin class once or 3 times a week for an hour. Here's your warning. If you try to go to spin class 3 times a week for that first week, you're going to feel like you're dying because you're burning off all that you're trying to burn off that excess glycogen that's in your cells. And we've got to flip that metabolic switch so that you go from burning off all your glycogen to start burning off your stored fat. So if your body has not made that change after day 4, and let's just say you're on day 2 and you go to the gym and you're trying to kill it and you just feel lethargic, like, I don't have anything in the tank. That's what it is. Hear me on this. If you are working out and you do want to stay on 5 and 1, that's okay. But just know it may take you a little bit longer to get into fat burn. Those who are watching this, maybe you're training for a marathon. I've coached some people who have trained for marathons. We encourage them. There are some other alternatives other than 5 and 1 that we could start them on. But if you're training for a marathon, maybe the first week you just stretch for 30 minutes 3 times that first week or 2. And then once you finish that stretching, then you can start incorporating some more, training, running, and so forth, and start stepping it up from there. But get yourself through that first 3 weeks. And he talks about that in here, how he had 2 groups of folks. One group didn't exercise and one group did, and who had the better results? The ones who put the exercise on hold the first 3 weeks. Not only physically did they feel better, emotionally, they felt really better because after 3 weeks, they were ready to go back to the gym. Were the ones who stayed away and tried to, do their thing, they struggled. And so I thought that was really interesting to see. The next thing he talks about is why am I eating whole food? Why am I eating fuelings versus whole food? So Allie, I'll let you jump in on that, and then we'll wrap up with some system resources.
Okay. So yeah, so why am I not eating whole foods? Well, I've coached dietitians and nutritionists. And I'm like, why are you here? This is literally what you do. And they're like, well, I need the fuelings because it takes so much preparation to work with the whole foods. And then, they're all fresh ingredients, right? We're eating lean and green. Can you imagine having to prepare all these little things all day long, every single day, plus the portability of them? It's just very difficult. And to know that each one of those things you're having are interchangeable and they have the vitamin and mineral and nutrient and probiotic support that we get in those fuelings, to try and manage all that with whole food is very difficult. So difficult that dietitians and nutritionists are even jumping into this because they see the value of all of that has been done for them, and they're just focusing on that one healthy meal a day. The other reason is because if you're doing it with whole food, where are you constantly? In the grocery store. And where is a really hard time to be when you're trying to heal your relationship with food and get healthy mindset and work with triggers and all that sort of thing. If you are constantly going in the grocery store and you're hungry and you're distracted, it's just not setting you up for a recipe of success. So these fueling, we don't use whole foods because it's very complicated, and most people don't have the bandwidth for that. Every now and then I'll meet somebody who has the bandwidth and wants to do all of that, but it's still very difficult for them because they're, when your metabolism goes to take the energy, if it's not getting the nutrient support, it can pull it from your muscles as well as your fat. The way this is designed, it's designed to encourage it to pull it from your stored fats because it's getting all of the nutrients it needs that's feeding your muscular system and all your organs. So that's why we don't use the whole foods. And a lot of times we just struggle with making smart choices with that because of addictions to sugar and addictions to salt. And it's just too many choices. So that's why we don't start with whole foods and we start with the nutrition. Some people, we do have other programs where for our, like Kenny was saying, for people who are working out and for people who are older and have different nutritional needs and teenagers who have different nutritional needs. And so they may have more than one lean and green a day. But we really do utilize those fuelings because they serve a very distinct purpose of support during the weight loss phase. And then what else did you want me to talk about, Kenny?
Well, and I just, he talks about on page 243, the checklist. So making a checklist. So whether you're using, what's in the back of the Optavia guidebook, that checklist that's in there, start establishing a checklist every day, making sure you're drinking at least 8 ounces of water or how much ever your coach has recommended you drink, making sure you're having all 5 of your fuelings every day, making sure you're weighing your portion sizes for lean and greens. Real quickly, I just wanted to share my screen, and I'm going to show you, if you go to habitsofhealth.com, there are in the top right-hand corner here, it says system resources. And you can pull up those system resources that are in here, and I'll just scroll down. So if you've never browsed this resource, there is a lot of good information. There are some videos in here with Dr. A. You'll see some macro habits, a daily health log, a weekly log, a monthly log. So once you fill up the one from the guidebook, you can print these off on your computer, and you'll have more trackers as well. There's a little bit of talk about healthy motion. The glycemic charts are there. You can print those off and have them handy. Some recommended grocery lists. If you're going to a doctor and maybe you haven't been in a while, you can take that healthcare provider information sheet in as well. So a lot of really good stuff. Here's some more stuff right here that goes a little bit deeper into the nutrients and the nuts and bolts basically of the program, the calorie restriction guide and so forth. A couple suggested shopping charts, some meal planning for those, once you get to your goal weight. The wine guide, I've not seen what's in there, so that would be really interesting to read and see what his recommendations and suggestions are there. Keep in mind, while you're in 5 and 1, no wine, of course, is allowed. Way too many carbs there. And then, of course, some activity logs for neat and eat. Your total energy calculation. So these are things that you're going to need. You will need to use these things to calculate your total energy expenditure once you reach your goal, so that if you're using MyFitnessPal, for example, how many calories you've got to get every day. There's also some charts here for healthy sleep, healthy mind, and so forth. So and that's all in habitsofhealth.com under resources. So I just wanted to bring that to point so everybody can see that. But there are a lot of great resources there. And, but it's great to start checking these things and start tracking these things. And, he also talks in here about if you've only got a small amount of weight to lose. Some people only need to lose 10 or 15 pounds, and they get to this part relatively quickly. So he talks about if you've reached your goal pretty quickly, it's time to start phase 2. You continue advancing through your life book. You'll also want to read the chapters on my healthy low glycemic portion control system, parts 2.4 through 2.7 in the Habits of Health before you begin transitioning into element 14. So just want to put that in here because that is a key for those who are transitioning before they get to element 2. Element 14 is reading, parts 2.4 to 2.7 in the Habits of Health book. Next week we're going to start going over tracking a little bit more in depth. And I know Allie hates this part with a passion, but this is something, and even those who have been around for a while, those who are restarting as we go in the fall, this is something that's, it's a key component to begin doing. If you're not sure how much water you're drinking every day, it's important to track it. And if you're doing all these things and you share these with your coach, if you have a week where things go a little sideways, like Ali said, together you and your coach can figure out maybe where you kind of slacked a little bit that week, or maybe where you missed something or missed a few links. So really important to have that on hand as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop and